What's up, everyone? Matt and Nick here for another Who Are They Real Review. And today we got What If. We're not sure if these are the first three episodes, but we were able to get three episodes of What If to cover for you guys. We it is confirmed via Twitter that the first episode is the Captain Carter episode, so we'll give you more in-depth thoughts on that one. And
I was going to say,
we'll lightly touch on the other two. I think that's the
if
fair
you
way to do
don't want to know what the other two are, feel free to click off of this video. Thank you for your view.
Yeah.
But no, but yeah, Captain Carter was the first episode, and I will say the first of the three was not as good as the rest.
See, I felt like Captain Carter was my second favorite one. I loved that story. It was to me. This is an interesting way to phrase it, but it was like what Star Trek and Into Darkness did for Star Trek Wrath of Khan, where it told the same story in a different way. Like it's still that episode is basically just Captain America's story, but roles reversed and how it plays out that way, which I thought was really cool.
Well, that's kind of the point of What If is going to be that it is stories that we are familiar with. I mean, literally, it is partially shot for shot up until a certain point.
Yes.
And it is interesting to see where these certain stories end up going, and what ends up happening in them. This one in particular, as spoiled by pop figures and everything, and even the trailer, is that in this, Howard makes the Ironmonger suit for
Steve.
I want to call him Chris Evans. I don't even know why. For Steve Rogers. And it was very interesting to see this dynamic. I mean, Steve continuing to be this humble character who, he was more supportive than anything else when Peggy goes on this journey. But yeah, I think that you kind of have to watch it for yourself to really understand anything that we are going to be talking about in this. And that is why this show is very interesting. It's intriguing. It's a thing in the comics that it almost leaves you wishing that, these other universes and stuff like that. And what it really does set up is this whole multiverse thing. Yes. You can go through this knowing that these stories are true and are happening somewhere as the watcher takes you on this journey.
And could potentially show up and have something to do with something we see in the MCU down the line.
And it would be very intriguing, but I also have been getting into this whole, the MCU just feels like it's setting up for the next one, then setting us up for the next one, then setting up for the next one type of mood when it comes to Black Widow. Really didn't end up feeling like that, probably because it was, well, yes, at times, obviously, but I'm saying being a standalone.
I didn't know you had seen it, so I was just like, I'm about to hear your thoughts on Black Widow.
Well, it's just it was good. It was fine. Being a standalone Black Widow film, though, I understand that in the future there's implications to it. But I mean, WandaVision felt like it was leading up to Doctor Strange. Loki feels like it was leading up to Doctor Strange. Everything sort of feels like it's going to culminate in Doctor Strange. And even these what if stories at the same time, we could get a flash or a glimpse of something that was happening in what if, maybe if they're traveling through these dimensions and stuff like that, if that's the route that they're going with these stories. So it is intriguing and it is exciting to see these characters told in a different way. I will say that not everybody comes back to voice their characters. I know that there was controversy with Dave Bautista anyways. And for what it's worth, I kind of understand why they didn't pay him all that money just to do what he was going to do.
Yeah. Granted, that's just based off of the one episode we've seen him.
Correct. And we'll get into
Draxon.
that in a second. But it's just like they're not paying Robert Downey Jr. to come back to voice Iron Man, even though he shows up a lot in this series, I believe. Same thing with Chris Evans and Steve Rogers, though I will say the voice for him was fantastic. It sounded exactly
Whoever
like
did the voice acting, holy hell,
you
I
wouldn't know the
was
difference. But
no,
you could tell where they splurged on some funds, and I'll just leave it at that.
no,
But yeah,
no. I like I said, Captain Carter out of the three we were able to view was my second favorite. My least favorite would be the one where we're seeing.
let's just call it a Marvel whodunit. That's
Yeah,
just all
yeah,
I'm
just
gonna say.
yeah. That's
There
what,
is there is
as you can see, I was trying to think of a way to
it's
avoid
the
it.
best way is to describe it as a Marvel whodunit, and I'm just gonna say we leave
Yeah,
it at that, just because there's a
yeah,
lot to that story
and
that
like even just talking about that episode alone spoils it. Let's just say we get a glimpse into a vastly different world leading up to an Avengers film. Let's put it that way.
um and then your favorite and mine, just for the Easter eggs of it all, was definitely, and again, spoilers just to what episode we saw. It is the T'Challa joining, not even the Guardians of the Galaxy, really just joining the Ravagers.
Yeah, T'Challa being Star Lord and basically succeeding in every way, turning the Ravagers into a force of good, and just some of the cameos and Easter eggs in that episode, and the storytelling was just phenomenal. I loved it. It was that was a true what if to me because, like I said before, Captain Carter episode, basically the first Captain America movie shrunk down into a half hour.
Mhm.
This episode completely different than any Marvel movie that we've had in place, and just really fun. Kind of has some sort of heist feel to it, like just and it was funny. It was genuinely funny.
Yeah. And it's, again, you know, we're gonna say this a million times in this review, even though it's, I would imagine, concluding soon.
Yes,
It's very hard to talk about these episodes until people have seen them. Carter is different, just because obviously
we've seen a lot of
that
it already.
that one is the first one that's going to be released, and typically with a review, you're talking about a movie. In this one, we can talk about that episode.
Yeah,
For me personally, watching the other two stories play out, I would rather, obviously, we gave you the most minimal amount of information. I would
yeah,
rather that be the case going into it, if you're going to watch these episodes, is to try not to know as much as you possibly can, because it
yeah.
really does take these stories and flip them on their head.
And it's fun that way. It's I had like Captain Carter second favorite episode, but I did have a lot more like intrigue with the Who Done It episode, because I was really trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Avoid spoilers,
yeah,
because
avoid
something like
spoilers.
that is probably
That's
going
going
to
to
get
be a
out real
spoiler heavy
quick.
episode. Like
Um,
there's the fact that we basically are just skipping over it and saying, I'll say this. I overall, I did love this entire show. The three episodes that we got, I loved it overall. If I'm ranking the episodes that I got to see, it goes 1, 2, 3. That, like not in that order, but you get what I mean. I'm putting them in a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Overall, I do want to say, check this out. The show comes out tomorrow, Wednesday, and yeah, be sure to check that out. Nick, anything you want to say?
just make sure that you are. I mean, we're clearly 3 weeks away from getting to that one episode, but I will say, just avoid spoilers, because it's an interesting ride. It's an interesting ride.
Yeah. So, with that, I'm Matt,
I'm Nick.
and this was another Who Are They Real review. Have a good one, everyone.